Shut up and sit down, you big bald fuck.
Whoa, take it easy with the distortion, everybody. So now here's the question: do we refer to each other as our alias or surnames, or what are we doing here?
Well, you introduced yourself as Dietrich last time, right?
Right, and I don't think there's really a point in having a set name because we're on the internet. We can be whoever the fuck we want.
That's typically what people do. They're at Twitter handle hashtag bullshit. I don't know. I mean, you were Dietrich. I figured I'd be
The Ein.
No.
You're not really feeling the Ein.
I mean, it's apropos because it's German for one. But
Apropos vis-a-vis.
Yeah, accordingly. Oh my god, I showed Tara that months ago. So
months, not decades.
Well, no, because up until a couple years ago, she had never seen any Star Wars movies. She had never seen Lord of the Rings movies. She never watched the Matrix movies.
Why is it that we connect with people that aren't nerdy? Like, is it a yin and yang thing, or is it a water and oil thing? I don't understand.
I think it is, and that's a way of putting it. And I think it's a whole opposites attract thing. And now, I mean, just because we had the boy, I think that's the only reason we haven't been to the movies as often as we used to. But we would have gone to see every Marvel movie if we could have.
And that happens when you have a kid, and as he gets older, there'll be stuff that he gets into that you can't fucking stand, like Transformers. I swear, I was so proud of my son for sitting all throughout Bumblebee. He's never been able to sit still, but I took him to see Bumblebee, and that is the worst movie I've ever seen. But he sat through it, and I was like, oh, this is great. I can take him to see movies now. But of course, that's the only one he wants to actually sit through.
Right. I don't know how the Transformers movies made as much money as they did because I only saw the first one. And even then, I was just like, okay, whatever.
I can see this one was better than...
They just got progressively worse, and all they were was just bombastic displays of CGI. But people paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, and it just kept making money, so they kept making more of them. It's like the freaking Avatar movies. I've never seen Avatar. I have no interest in seeing Avatar, because all it is just computerized blue people and some bullshit against President Bush.
Well,
because they talk about shock and awe or something in that, so that's obviously a dig or something at that.
You said Avatar movies there's actually only one.
Yeah, and there's going to be I don't know
so many more.
James Cameron has been talking about making like 4 sequels for like the past 10 years or so.
Yeah, and I guess the next one is definitely happening now, and who gives a shit?
I think that moment's passed.
So
yes, that's why the Marvel movies they maintained I guess interest because they just kept pumping out movie after movie at a pretty regular frequency.
A frequency?
Yeah.
Frequency. I should. Oh man, why do you have that?
Memory cards with my stupid songs on them.
Since we're doing this whole voice stuff, you should definitely stream that over Twitch, and we'll make a night of it.
Oh my god! How would I stream a PlayStation 2 game?
Well, do you have it on the PlayStation 2 or anything else?
No, that's it. And I don't even have a PS2 anymore. I tried painting, and I ended up kind of disassembling it to the point where I couldn't reassemble it again. So, whoops.
Well, I don't think that they have that on any of the old or of the new systems. But you know what they do have? You know what is on there? Oh, Jesus. The Firework game. What the fuck was it?
Fantavision?
Fantavision is on the PlayStation Network.
No.
I swear I saw it recently and I was like, holy shit.
That's such a strange, like, sleeper kind of game.
I know. Well, I think it was kind of popular when it came out. I want to say it was one of the first PS2 games.
You were the only person I knew that had it, let alone, played it or talked about it.
I didn't play it all that much.
What was it? Was Starmine.
Is that Starmine? Starmine, motherfucker. Yeah.
I remember that shit. Well, that's... Unless you had something to lead into, that that was something I wanted to talk about. I'm sure we've had this conversation before, but what is, and can you even answer this question? What is your favorite video game?
My favorite video game, and I've told you this, is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Now, are you not just saying that because it's the most recent one that came out?
I am saying that
And
because
it's the new hotness and everything.
it's not the new hotness anymore. And the whole spiel with the online thing is like made it not so popular. It seems like I don't care about the online. I'm just saying for the sake of immersion and storytelling, graphics, all that stuff, it's just the best game I've ever played.
I've been trying to think about this myself. Now, you said the other day that some joker uploaded a 30-minute video from Atogi Myth of Demons, and you were like, who the hell's this? And then you're like, oh, it's that guy.
Oh man, I should show him this. Oh wait, he's the one who uploaded it.
Yeah, so I've been on that game, and I love that game, and I'll borderline want to say that is like my favorite game, but that might be because I'm playing it, and I'm reminded of for its time, the number of levels, considering it's like a hack and slash action game, and the destructible environments, and the storytelling is a little, you're like, what? This isn't really a coherent thing. You don't really know what's going on, but I don't know, just the sort of vibe that I kind of get from that game. And whenever it gets the end level with the end boss, I never skip a cutscene because the voice acting is so good. And just the whole thing, I don't know, it just resonates with me for whatever reason. I'm really drawn to it. But then I started thinking, well, what about Final Fantasy VII? I have crazy memories of playing that game. And Josh, who was like 6 years old at the time, sitting next to me. And I'm like reading out loud the dialogue boxes and everything to him. So he's as much invested in the game as I am. But then I think about Ocarina of Time, how I would wake up hours before I needed to go to school just to play Ocarina of Time in the morning. Like
that was around the time when we met too, I believe.
So I was doing that way back, I think in the 7th or 8th grade, because
that was
my mom.
Then.
Get this order of operations here. My mom got us a Super Nintendo way back in, gosh, what was that? 90? When did they get divorced? 96, 97, sort of late 90s. So we'll say between 97 and 99, she got us a Super Nintendo, and I remember playing Super Empire Strikes Back on it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Never getting that far into it before I was.
Jesus, those games give me nightmares.
Yep. Then she got us an Atari Jaguar.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And the Angry Video Game Nerd episode on the Jaguar, man. Oh my God, brought back so many memories of playing that thing. And if you ever held the Duke, the original Xbox controller, and you thought that thing was big, the Jaguar controller, it had like this crazy like 20 key keyboard in the middle of it. So the way it was so weird. You have to Google it. It was just a dumb opposite of ergonomic controller, but I still loved playing it. I had Tempest, and I had the other game that Angry Video Game Nerd talks about with the green face. Where did you learn how to fly?
Oh my God, you had that?
I had that game, and I don't know why. I sank hours into it, but then eventually she got us an N64, and I got Ocarina of Time, and that game was the shit. I think as soon as you boot it up and you have that opening music playing, I don't know what it is, but I guess you got to be a certain type of person. But if it sucks you in right then that, I don't know, you're going to be sucked into it for the entire game. And I remember this is late 90s, so the internet wasn't that great. Having to look up tips on how to beat the freaking water temple and all the other nuances of that game, how to get, all the different hearts, not different hearts, but all the hearts so you can build up your life and everything. Just all the little secrets of that game. I just remember really getting into it. And I did the same thing, I think like a year later with Final Fantasy VII because my dad had a PlayStation. And if you were to ask me like my favorite game, I couldn't think of one like this generation. I actually have to go back a couple systems.
I want to say it's relative because you got to look back on every good experience that you ever had and what sticks out the most. Because I remember playing Manhunt on the PS2. Remember that game?
I do. I never really got into that. Eddie, my stepdad did. I remember that.
That game was so cool, and it got a lot more interesting when you got a gun because that game was really dark, and it was, you had to be stealthy the whole game. But when you were able to shoot somebody, I don't know, it's like they turned up the volume on the guns to 11. So it just would be so satisfying when you get somebody.
I got confused. For some reason, when you said Manhunt, I thought of Hitman. Don't know why,
No,
but
not
Manhunt is that
Hitman.
crazy Rockstar game, right?
Yeah, the snuff game.
Yeah, the one that like, I know what you're talking about now. I never played that game. Never watched anybody play that game. I just, from what I understand, it is just so freaking nuts. So like, there are some countries that banned it outright or censored the shit out of it.
Oh yeah, it was, honestly, even going back and playing it now, you'd just be like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm seeing this. but the mechanics on it were fun. It was fun to play. But you brought up the N64, and I remember Zelda, Ocarina of Time too. And my first experience was that I didn't have the game. I first saw it when my cousin, was stuck on the water temple, and I'm like, man, this game is nuts. And I didn't realize he was stuck on it, and he kind of left the N64, and I just got to messing around with it, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, so I just kind of wandered around, not making any progress. Didn't even know you could leave the water temple. I just thought that was the whole game. And I was so impressed with just how everything looked. And then I don't remember how I got past the water temple, but there was like this, you remember there was like this mythos about that game. And that's kind of what made it so cool.
What do you mean?
I don't know. There was almost like a mystique to it.
Well, yeah, I think. Well, back then you had word of mouth more than anything, and I used to do the same thing with Final Fantasy VII. I would tell a kid I went to grade school with, and I don't even know if he cared, but I just ranted on and on and on about how awesome this game was. I'd bring the manual in and be like, "This freaking character right here, he's fucking badass, and this shit right here, it's fucking crazy, man. I got this summon yesterday. It's fucking crazy, man." It's just weird to have seen these huge 3D things on TV, just tearing ass across the screen. And back then, it just freaking blew my mind. But I think I know what you mean, because I remember looking up these different. They're all false. Like, oh, I got because Eris, spoiler alert, Eris dies in Final Fantasy VII. If you never played it.
Oh, does she? I had no idea.
Yeah, right. Well, there was like all these people on different message boards, like, I resurrected Eris, or I got her to, I managed to trade Tifa to get killed instead of Eris, and there's a secret room over here, blah, 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 where you can get the jump on Sephiroth before you killed. So, like, all these things, I'm just like, oh, shit. So I get on the game, I try to figure all these things out, and I'm like, oh, shit. In the background, there is a tunnel right there. Why can't I get to that tunnel? Maybe I can climb this thing over here. Shit, I can't climb that. There's got to be a way to get back there. It's got to be there for a reason. No. I mean, Occam's razor, the simplest solution is usually the true one. And it's like, no, it's just a fucking pre-rendered background. That's just there, man. It's just a drawing. That ain't shit. And no, you can't keep her from getting killed. It's what happens. You gotta Game Shark that shit. And that is an old sentence. Yeah.
Oh my God. Game Shark that shit.
I know what you're talking about, though. There was a lot of people trading stories back and forth. Like, I promise I got this to work and I did this.
Okay, so I think I know a way to describe this mythos, right? Okay. Have you seen Stranger Things?
The first 2 seasons. I haven't seen the new one yet.
All right, so in the first season especially, there seems to be this this way that they do things where the stakes are so high and they have no idea what the fuck they're going to do, and they just got to kind of get lucky and figure it out. Mm-hmm. You know that kind of feel that the first season had?
Like on you as a person watching it?
Well, just imagine being in that situation, and the stakes are incredibly high, and you've got this like crazy mythological being to battle, and you don't even really know what it is or how to fight it, and it just kind of seems hopeless, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I looked at the Ocarina of Time game. There was just this mystique to it. I know I keep using that word, and I'm not really describing it all that well, but there were a few books I read when I was a kid that kind of had that same feeling, like a quest, for lack of a better term.
So it sounds like you're talking about the same kind of immersion that you have with Red Dead 2, how you were invested in this world and the mysteries of the world, and it kept giving you questions that you couldn't have answers to. Like early on, when you see Ganon come out for the first time, you're just like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, I
And
love that shit.
yeah, the whole thing. And then you go to the Temple of Time, and you go to the future, and you see Hyrule and how it's just a freaking mess. And you're like, what the hell happened? And that's just good storytelling. And especially in video games are very unique because in a book you just have the words, you have to use your imagination. But in a video game, you have, in addition to the story that they're telling, you have these visual aids, and it could work to its detriment where all you're like, oh, those are great graphics and everything, but it doesn't lend anything to the story. Or you can have like what was now Ocarina of Time. I think everything sort of lent itself to the story. Everything served a purpose. And so when you see Hyrule after you exit the Temple of Time without telling any part of the story, you're sort of reading something that isn't there. You know, you're reading what's not written. You're just like, what the hell is going on? And so you're flipping through pages that aren't there. And so I think it's just really good world building. And I think it's a really good way of pulling your audience in. And so I think what you're describing is immersion and world building. And I did kind of get that from Red Dead 1 because I haven't played 2 yet. And I was sort of invested in John Marston's thing. And as it progressed, I was like, man, what is his deal with these guys he used to run with? And what is with this mysterious dude who knows everything about him? The personification of death, I guess, is the one.
That is good writing. You're precisely right. And they never explain what that dude is. I will tell you, I'm not going to give away anything for the second one, but that dude is kind of in it, but not really. It's fucking weird.
There's something else about the first Red Dead. Now, they've chalked this up to like a programming thing or something to do with code or whatever, but there is the ghost town that's what's the main town? Is it Armadillo?
Yeah, Armadillo.
All right, I almost called it Amarillo. That's a real place. There's a ghost town that's like out a little ways, and I think you have to like rescue what's her name because she's like being hung or something by some bandits or whatnot.
Bonnie.
But if you go through that outside of the main quest, there's like a house that you can go into, and if you go into the basement, you hear like footsteps upstairs, and you're just like, what the fuck is that? And so initially you're thinking like this is part of the game, like they put ghosts in this game, which kind of fits the Wild West sort of theme because it's, I don't know, you read like the Bible or some old ass stories, and there's all these different instances of divine intervention, and it's like, well, that was a different time. Nowadays you couldn't have something like that happen that was so obvious, I guess, or so conspicuous. So if we're getting into the late 1800s, early 1900s, it seems kind of appropriate in an old West kind of setting to have subtle hints at like ghosts or Grand Theft Auto, I guess, kind of did it too. But I remember reading into it, and they're just like, yeah, it wasn't on purpose. It was some sort of weird code thing where like the NPCs from the tavern in the next town over sort of pop in for whatever reason, and then they pop out. So what you're hearing is like NPCs moving around, but they're not supposed to be there. So it's not purposely like, yeah, we're going to put ghosts in this game. But I always thought that was a creep factor. And I appreciate that when I was under the impression that it was done on purpose. Now, I'm not too sure. I thought I read that they actually do something like that in Red Dead 2.
There are, I think that's kind of a Rockstar thing too. They put all kinds of weird little things in there to make you think, and it's just kind of creepy. And Red Dead 2 does it a lot. And there was one day I was playing. I haven't played it in a little while, but this one day I'm just kind of roaming around at night, and I'm looking for a possum for my stupid Master Hunter challenge. Believe it or not, a fucking possum's the hardest damn thing to find in that game. Anyway,
haven't you killed like 8 of them in your backyard? Or those are raccoons?
No, actually, if I catch a possum, I let it go. But if you kill the raccoon, if you catch a raccoon, kill it. The park rangers don't want you to relocate it. They want you to kill them because they're fucking everywhere. Okay. Anyway, I'm looking for a possum, a virtual possum, and I cross a railroad track, and it's nighttime in the game. And there's I hear a train, and I'm like, oh, cool. I'm just going to watch the train. And it's a fucking ghost train.
Oh, no.
I'm like, wait, am I seeing this right? Is it glitching? And I Google it, and they just put a ghost train in there just because.
That is the shit. That's the kind of stuff I like. Because
oh
I
man,
mean,
there's so much of it in that game too.
you hear about shit like that in the real world. You hear about ghosts. There's a video I keep thinking about, and I bet you if YouTube or Google's eavesdropping, they're gonna pop it up in my recommendation list of this car chase, and it's a dash cam video, and there's this cruiser like chasing after just a regular like looking sedan, and he's following the sedan, and he goes around a corner, and he comes up on a chain link fence, but you can see the taillights of the sedan sort of disappearing through the chain link fence. Like, what the fuck? What was he chasing after? Because no car can go through a freaking fence and just keep on going straight and leave the fence intact. So
That's
it's things,
weird.
yeah, it's things like that where, yeah, you're in the Wild West and there's all these real things happening. Well, virtually, these real things happening. There's real people, but then you throw in some creepy, weird shit because I mean, real life is kind of creepy and kind of weird, which we'll circle back to later during story time.
Oh, story time. Um, let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think about when you asked me what my favorite video game was, it's not an easy question to answer.
Mhm.
But the thing with Red Dead 2 is the amount of detail they put into that game. You can just go for a stroll and be amazed no matter how many times you played it. And I mean, a lot of people don't really, I don't think they appreciate it the way it's meant to be appreciated. Maybe that sounds a little bit conceited of me. I might be completely wrong in that, but just all the stuff they put in, it's mind blowing to me. And I feel like I'm giving them the respect they deserve to play it as much as I can.
Yeah, because all the stuff's in there for a reason. I feel the same way about Grand Theft Auto 5. There are videos on YouTube of people just taking their characters and walking around Los Santos, just walking around. Or somebody, like once you've done everything, you drive around city like a normal person. But
Right.
when you walk around and you're privy to all the different lines of dialogue that were recorded and all the different characters, the NPCs, and how they're programmed, the different routines that these people go through, the different things that they do. And it's always fun watching the AI freak out and watching somebody get run over, or especially like a cop getting run over and the cop gets up and shoots at that car and then the car freaks out and hits another car and it causes a chain reaction. Like GTA fails have been like my new thing lately on YouTube. I'll just sit on the couch with the boy and I'm just looking up GTA fails, and it's just
such a waste of time, but so fun.
It is. It's so funny. Like I don't know what I'd rather watch, like real human fails. I mean, CrossFit fails are my favorite because fuck that shit. But GTA fails are also fucking funny just because you have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, you got a guy, he'll wreck his motorcycle, he'll fall off an overpass, he'll have a smidgen of life left, and then the motorcycle comes out of nowhere and just falls on his head and kills him. Like
Right.
shit like that just comes out of nowhere, and it's always it's good for a laugh. It always is. It's pretty consistent.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think I remember looking into all the work, computer animation. It takes an unbelievable amount of work, and just all the stuff that they throw into these games. Just go around Grand Theft Auto. I mean, this game is 5 years old now, maybe still coming up on 6. Just walk around and look at all the different signs, all the different graffiti. I mean, as somebody goes into a computer program and builds those by hand, and they never repeat anymore. They're always different. They're all over the fucking place. I mean, there must be tens of thousands of just these pictures, and most people don't even look at them.
Yeah, and that's actually in the game. Max Payne 3 is another great game I love. It's up in my top, at this rate, probably top 30. I can't even narrow it down to a top 10 list. But that crew actually went to I love that game so much. I forget what Sao Paulo, Brazil, and actually went down there and they took pictures and they went around the favelas and they went around the more kind of richy districts so they could rebuild it and emulate it as accurately, I guess, as genuinely as possible. And from what I understand, they kind of did the same thing with Los Angeles and Los Santos. They went in there, and I think Bethesda has done it too with the Fallout games, where they try to map out Boston or they map out Washington, D.C. and everything. And they want, I mean, they're going to take their liberties with it, which is no pun intended because Liberty City, Grand Theft Auto 4. But I mean, the meticulousness, the attention to detail, just the willingness to go this far out of their way to essentially just make a video game, to make a game.
I know.
Yeah, I'm with
nuts.
you. To play it, to walk around, to not even really play the main mission in like Red Dead or Grand Theft Auto, and just sort of go around and sort of just bask in the awesomeness of someone's creation. I think that is showing like the utmost appreciation for their efforts.
Yeah, Arkham Knight, that was another one. I mean, that game kind of got a bad rap because the story was kind of predictable, but dude, just all the shit in the game is mind-blowing.
It is. Yeah. And that's a cool thing about current generation games. Just the engines that they have nowadays and how powerful they are. So what you're seeing is just mind-blowing. 10 years ago, you wouldn't imagine this. So I can only imagine what 12, 13-year-old me playing Final Fantasy VII, thinking, holy shit, this is awesome. Like fast forward 20 years and it's like, holy shit, this is
could you imagine playing Arkham Knight when you were like 10?
Oh God, I had the little Batman figures and everything. So that would have been like, I mean, there's just no way. There's no way you could have me in the same time period as the Burton films and then looking at Arkham Knight, and because I just be like, I don't even know what to believe anymore. This is a dream. This isn't real life.
I read something about Arkham Knight. They put more detail into Batman's cape for just this game than they did for I think the data in just his cape is like half of Arkham Asylum. Like it's crazy.
And it's little things like that too. Like the way his bat suit deteriorates throughout all those games, it's not random. It's all by design. You reach the end of this fight and you come out of it and the cutscene ends, and now Batman has a tear on his shoulder or across his chest or his cape,
scratch or whatever.
Yeah, so that's not something dynamic or anything. You're not suffering like dynamic real world damage or anything. But still, when I first noticed that, like in Arkham Asylum, I'm like, holy shit! Like Batman's like he's going through some shit. There's time. This event is happening over the course of a really long night, and if you need evidence of that, you just look at Batman's costume because he's getting kind of messed up. I thought a little thing like that was, I don't know, I appreciate little details like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and now also in video games too, sometimes you've got better performances from the actors than you find in movies.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, man. And that's another reason you need to play Red Dead 2, because it's the best acting in a video game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like there's a part with the main character where it's like his last ride, and the song that they play, you're so invested at this point, and like the song that they play and the way they cut this little cut scene, but you're still playing it at it's crazy.
Who does in Red Dead 1? Who does John kill last? Was that Dutch?
That was Dutch, yeah.
Was it after Dutch when he rides off back to his farm where is it called Dead Man's Gun? There's a song that, so when he first goes into Mexico, there's a song that plays, and you're
so far away.
Yeah, it's just so apropos. It's really good, and you're just like, holy shit! It adds another level. And so it's more of that storytelling where there's nothing written on the page, but you're reading something, and it just draws you deeper into the story. And the same thing happens after he finally kills Dutch, and the story you think is, well, it's over. He's done what he was supposed to do, and so that song plays, and I remember the last time I played it all the way through. When that song started playing, I did not race to the marker to finish that quest, and I took my fucking time.
Yeah, you go to a canter and you just enjoy.
I think I don't even think I galloped with the horse. I think I just let it walk until the song was over, and then I was like, all right, we're good now.
Well, you remember that song. You remember how that made you feel, right?
Yeah.
Well, to anybody actually who will ever listen to this little podcast, I have a guest lined up. His name is Christian Larson, and he does Red Dead Redemption covers. And that song's called So Far Away is one of the ones that he covered. He takes the best ones. And I swear this dude is so damn talented. It sounds like every song was written for him to sing it. So I'm very, very, very much looking forward to having this dude on to talk with us. And that'll probably be actually, I'm going to get a hold of him in about a week.
Oh, well, here it is. Good old Apple Music here.
Yeah. Give it.
Yeah, that was when he first goes into Mexico.
Mm-hmm. But anyway.
That's a good one. What was the other one though? Yeah, Dead Man's Gun. Like that whole thing, like I would just not, I would not gallop with the horse. I would not finish I would just let the song, because I felt like if I don't, it felt like if I did rush, that would go against John's character. Like I was actually controlling a person, so I had to be true to him as a character, like he was freaking real. I don't want to make him do something that would go against who he was, and he's not even freaking real. But after all those hours of playing as him and doing all this shit, you sort of develop who he is as a person, quote unquote. And I guess that's reflective of your character as a real person with the karma honor system, whatever it's called in those games.
And I mean, if you were walking into Mexico looking for some dude you used to run with, why would you make your horse sprint? You know, he's probably got a lot on his mind at that moment. You got to take this whole new country in. Mm-hmm. You know, you got me thinking about some of the lines in that game. There was a part where you meet that Irish dude, and he's getting drowned by these other two Irish guys, and John cuts in and he's like, "Hey, what? Stop it or whatever," and the Irish guy, one of them who's drowning, the dude who becomes your friend, he says, "Hey, fuck off, boyo. This don't concern you." And John says, when a stranger with a sing-song voice tells me to fuck off, it does concern me, boyo." Just like the lines in that game.
Yeah, the writing. So
writing.
All that stuff has to come together, and it's really great when it does, because there's the writing. And you could read it in a dialogue box, like in the old games, or you can have someone act it out. So there's the voice acting, and then there is the graphical, the presentation of it itself. So then you have the person that you're looking at, whether it's mocap or something else. So, and even then, the older games you might not have had lip syncing. Metal Gear Solid is another one where the story's a little nutty, but you're kind of following with it for the most part. And the characters, the character models, are all really polygonal, because we're talking about the PlayStation. We're talking about the late 90s. And Solid Snake's face is like just a bunch of blurry polygons. Like, he doesn't have distinguishable eyes. He just has a sort of shadow where his eyes are, and like a shadowy kind of line where his mouth is. And when he talks, he like moves his head like he's constantly nodding or seasoning as he's doing it. And you could probably hear me doing it as I'm talking.
But dude, that game was a turning point, man. Game was
amazing. So, the textures and the graphics and everything at the time, I'm sure they were great, but it still holds up just because of the nature of the game itself and the storytelling and the voice acting. So all that stuff it lifts everything else up.
I got another little clip, or another little line from that game. So they had a race. Nigel West Dickens, remember the
snake oil
salesman? Yeah, he has John race all these dudes, and then all the dudes find out that they're just full of shit, and they're leaving. Nigel West Dickens says, "Sport, war, and heartache, the guilty pleasures of mankind since the dawn of time." Marston's response: "I'd get away from the men we just swindled before you start waxing too lyrical." I love that game, man.
He was a good protagonist.
He was.
And I don't think he ever could have been labeled as an anti-hero, because you weren't really privy to what he did.
Oh, but, maybe you should play a second game.
Yeah. From what I understand, yeah.
I think you'd end up liking Arthur Morgan more than John Marston, which is saying something.
It does say something, because that ending, I did not want to go out there.
Nope.
And I didn't want to do that to him. And I remember the first time I played that game, I still never really got the Deadeye system down very well. So when I first walked out of the barn, I only Deadeyed like 2 people. And I was really upset, because I was like, no, John would have killed like 11 people. He would have shot 11 people square in the face.
Yeah, I feel like I was a master of that Deadeye, and he should have been able to take them all down. But what can you do?
Yeah. Oh my god. I
So,
thought we were gonna get around to movies too, but we spent
yeah,
40 minutes talking about video games.
hey, you know what? I watched that Brightburn movie since we're in all into superheroes and shit. I was really excited for that movie. It's not bad, but it's very predictable.
I'm sure it is. It's yeah. It's evil Superman boy.
And, you know, I have a general rule of thumb now. If I see an advertisement for a horror movie on a YouTube video, I'm not watching it. No more. It's gonna suck. If they're advertising it that hard, it's a shitty horror movie.
Yeah, I don't like sharks already get a bad rap. Now they're doing it to freaking alligators too with that crawl. Go see crawl. Go see a bunch of people running away from alligators.
Reminds
That
me of
should have
Anaconda.
evacuated because of the fucking hurricane. I don't know why they're stuck there, but
It reminds me of Anaconda with Jennifer Lopez. That movie was terrible back then, and apparently they're just doing the same thing.
Congo, wasn't that like a freaking murderous gorilla or something?
Yeah, but that was more like a science fiction. I don't remember
was
the
it?
movie very much. Yeah, it wasn't just about killer apes. It was about something going on in the jungle, I believe. I don't remember. Oh, so I don't know what else. What's going on in your actual life?
Oh, well, the boy turns 1 here in a couple weeks.
Ooh,
So we're gonna go to a party store tomorrow and start prepping for his first birthday party. We're talking.
first birthday party. That is
Yep.
fun shit.
He's 1 year old, so we're not gonna go too crazy. And people keep asking what the theme of it is, and we're just like, birthday.
Cake,
He's
ice
too
cream.
young- yeah, birthday and cake. He's too young to be in anything. Like, what the fuck do you want us to say? Kefka's Metamorphosis. That's going to be the theme. Like, what? Yeah. What kind of a fucking question is that, man?
You know, you should say something like really obscure now, like
David Lynch's Lost Highway. That's going to be the theme.
I was gonna say something that's kind of kid friendly, like The Masked Rider. Remember that? No, The Masked Rider. It was part of the whole Power Rangers craze. They had the Beetleborgs, Masked Rider, and VR Troopers. Remember that shit?
No, I just remember Beetleborgs.
Oh, Beetleborgs was a little bit after VR Troopers and Masked Rider. Oh boy, I remember one time. I guess at some point my mom came in and saw some episode of Masked Rider, and these shows are all terrible, man. And she had a problem with me watching it. It was too violent, and I thought she was the worst parent in the world. And then, you know, then she eventually let me watch it, and I was happy again. But, you know, a few years later, I go back and watch it and remember that whole exchange between the two of us. And I was like, man, she was right. I shouldn't be watching this stupid shit. It's so bad. I think
it's like the PBS and Bill Nye the Science Guy or Legends of the Hidden Temple on Nickelodeon.
I didn't even have cable. So Masked Rider and VR Troopers, dude, that was the shit.
People like you, I did not understand. Like, what do you watch on TV? Did you watch this? No, I don't have cable. Like, what?
I know. It's
what
hard
is
to
wrong
imagine.
with you?
It's hard to imagine. And I mean, I would go to my grandma's and she had cable, and, you know, Nickelodeon was kind of strange to me. So then I'd see stuff like, Real Monsters. I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. And then Ren and Stimpy would come on.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, dude, I am really, really wishing I had cable at home right now.
How's it go? Powder toast,
Oh my
man. Is that how it was?
It's something like that. You know, I remember watching that show and knowing I shouldn't be watching the show.
Something's wrong here.
There's no way my parents would let me watch this, but they figure it's just a cartoon, so no big deal, right?
Oh, that and Rocko's Modern Life. I don't think All Real Monsters really pushed the envelope too much in that direction, but yeah, some of those cartoons, man. And you see it in the Disney Pixar movies now, where Toy Story was on the other weekend, and I ended up like, it was on TV, and I was like, no, fuck this. I ended up putting the Blu-ray on, and we finished the Blu-ray before the broadcast was over yet. Fucking commercials. And I think we watched Toy Story 2 after that. And all those movies, it's kid friendly and everything, but there's stuff in there for the adults too. There's little innuendos and hidden jokes. And I remember my dad, I think when we went and saw Toy Story 2, when they're in Al's toy barn, and tour guide Barbie jumps in and Mr. Potato Head goes, I'm a married spud. I remember my dad laughing, and your
dad would laugh at that.
Yeah. And it went over my head. At the time I didn't quite get it. And there's a lot of things that I look back on now that I did not get, mostly like episodes of Seinfeld, where I'm like, I did not get that as a kid. And now I'm like, oh, okay. I was in the pool, and is he sponge worthy and all these other things. I'm like, okay, I'm a grown up now. I know what they're talking about. why do my parents let me sit in the room with them while they watch this shit? Oh wait, I didn't know what the hell was going on anyway, so no harm, no foul, I guess.
You know what? You know another show that you're going to see differently now. It's now that you're a parent. Go back and watch Malcolm in the Middle,
Oh shit,
dude. I swear to God, that will be the funniest fucking show you've ever seen. Now that you're a father, I'm telling you, because you see it from the parents' point of view, and your boy's young still, but it's gonna look completely different now. You'll see it through a different lens. It's fucking hilarious.
that's so weird how that works. I've told you this before, how like imagery and other things, it just there's a different meaning to it now that I'm a father.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen? I don't know if you're into it. I pre-ordered it as soon as they were available. Death Stranding. Have you seen any of the ads or trailers for that game?
Oh, that's the one with Norman Reedus, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So the very first one that they came out with, it pans across this weird kind of black beach, shows all these like dead crabs or whatever, and these weird cables sticking out of them, and then it pans up to Norman Reedus, who is naked, laying down unconscious on the beach, and next to him is a naked baby crying, and there's also like this weird umbilical cable coming out of him. Right now, 2 years ago, I would see this, and then he would wake up, and he would pick up the baby, and he would hold the baby to his shoulder and sort of look like he was weeping, and then the baby would disappear. And the whole thing was just really, really surreal. And that was how I used to look at it. Like, whoa, this is freaking trippy. This is nuts. This game is going to be awesome. Hideo Kojima. Oh, fuck yeah. I'm totally going to get this fucking game. Now I watch that, and there is a weird, deep, like just something in my heart when I see that little virtual baby and I see him pick him up, and I'm just like, oh, I'm going to start fucking crying now. Because he's crying and the baby's crying. I'm like, that poor little fucking baby. And I think about my own kid. I'm just like, God damn it. What happened? What switch flipped when he was born where I can't look at some of these and the most benign thing, and I'm just like, oh God, I want to see my son.
Yeah, it's weird. I had a similar situation to that recently. Now, I'm not the most religious person, but I saw I'd seen this clip before I was a father. There was this Catholic priest baptizing a baby, and just kind of he starts slapping the baby around. Essentially, it's a real old fucking man. He starts slapping the baby around a little bit, and at first I was like, "Well, that's bullshit. These damn Catholics, blah blah blah." But then I see it again after I'm a dad, and the father, he doesn't really do anything besides kind of motion like, oh, I should take my baby back. I if that had been my son, I would have stomped that old man into the damn ground, not just politely ask for my kid back.
Yeah.
And it just made me so mad. I wasn't mad at the preacher. I was mad at the father for letting that shit happen.
Oh. Yeah, I don't get it.
It's oh man, if you ever just look up that Google or Google the priest slapping baby, whatever, if you want. It's pretty awful. Don't actually do it.
Google, what the fuck is this guy looking at?
Yeah, right. Uncle Sam's gonna be like, what is this guy's problem?
What is it? We need to have a talk with this guy. I'm gonna let his commander know the kind of shit he's Googling. This is weird.
I've been thinking about people in general lately.
People are scum.
People are scum.
Want to throw that out there.
People are scum. And I realized I love this country. I love it. I love all the rights that we have. I love America. I hate Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we have lost all sensibility as far as conflict. What we will do now, as opposed to what we used to do, is whip out our fucking cell phones and try to escalate the situation. We don't just have a normal conversation and try to rationalize with people that we have a disagreement with. We try to make it worse and put it up online to make the other person look like an asshole, even though all it does is make you look like an asshole yourself. And nobody gets that, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all for the likes and the views and the clicks and shit, I guess. And everybody wants to be a sensational journalist, I guess. Everybody wants to, like, I'm going to record this fight at McDonald's. I'm going to record this, whatever's happening here. And I don't know why. Like, you're not the center of attention for recording whatever it is that's happening. Everybody's focused on what's happening on the screen. Nobody's thinking about you. the person holding the phone, the person doing it. And the same thing goes with like, any interaction with police nowadays. Like everybody has to record it with their phone. And it's like, do you want something to happen? Especially if you like run up to them with your phone and you're just like, hey man, phone's in your face. I'm watching you.
Yeah.
That's going to make me kind of nervous.
And I get it. I get why people would want to record an interaction with the police. But what I don't get is looking for hope. It's almost like some people are hoping that something goes down, even sacrificing their own safety just for those likes. And I don't get that, man.
And that's the thing too in some of our political discussions. So the whole Jussie Smollett thing, people were hoping that actually happened, that he was walking from a subway at 2 a.m. in downtown Chicago, and two white dudes. This is January of last year, I think, or January of this year. Middle of the night, 2 a.m. He's walking around with Subway, and two white guys wearing MAGA hats confront him. They know who he is. They know he's gay. They like throw bleach or something on him and then tie like a noose around his neck, but it's not like with a rope. It's like with twine or some shit. But it's kind of fallen apart. The whole story has sort of been almost proven. He has to go to court for it still. So you can't say it's proven. He's innocent until proven guilty and everything. But it's not looking good. It's looking like he paid these two dudes off, these two African guys. Like, I don't know if they're actors too, but he has some sort of relationship with them. He knows them somehow. But it's almost like he kind of paid them. That's how it's looking like, to do this. And so he told the police that it was white guys. And so I think pretty soon after, people were like, wait. You're not, what's his name? On Empire. Oh God, he was Rhodes in the first Iron Man movie. Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not Terrence Howard, and you're not the female lead. Nobody really knows who you are, let alone that you're gay. 2 a.m, January. Who are you going to run into in Chicago? Two white guys in Chicago wearing Trump hats at the same time other people in other parts of the country are getting beat up for wearing Trump hats. Like, something's not adding up here. And there's a lot of other hoaxes that go on. There was one at the Air Force Academy where a racist message or a slur was written on a cadet's. He wasn't a cadet yet, but he was waiting to go to the academy. It was like written on his little whiteboard, his dry erase board outside his door. Turned out he wrote it. But the allegations, and the Air Force Academy commander, came out and was like, we have no room for this in our Air Force, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out like a week later, it's discovered, oh, it was a freaking hoax. It was all fabrication. People are like salivating, like, yes, this proves my bias. This proves that I'm right, that this country is inherently racist and people are just bad people and freaking Trump supporters are bad and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, don't you want this to be proven false? Don't you want to be relieved that, oh, thank goodness that didn't happen? It's fucked up that he made it up and that people, people would believe a story. Any person would believe any story you tell, no matter what. And I'll say initially, like, oh shit, that sounds like it could have happened. But then you think about it, and you're just like, wait. Let's not get too sensational. Let's not get too knee jerk here. And the same thing happened in 2008 before Barack Obama was elected. There was this white girl who said she was assaulted by somebody, and they scratched the letter B into her cheek and was like, yeah, Obama, bitch, or whatever, So I think it was a white girl said some black guy did it to her. The thing of it is that the B was scratched into her cheek backwards, like she was looking into a mirror when she did it, and it didn't break the skin. So everybody was just like, bitch, come on, nobody fucking attacked you. And she was like, nah, nobody attacked me. And it's like, why would anybody, and that's happening now. And I don't know back then if people were like, yes, of course this would happen. Look at this shit. I hope this happened because that proves my bias. I don't know why anybody would be like that. I would totally want the alternative. Like, oh, of course, thank goodness that didn't happen. Because that's awful.
I've always been raised to look at, to hear all sides of every situation. Now, I'm not saying there isn't some bullshit going on with this country and racist. Of course it is. Yeah. But we also have to remember that, if I guess I don't really want to say anything that could get me in trouble or make me look like a fool, because I am ignorant. I don't know what's going on out there.
Yeah.
I'm a straight white guy. What can I say? But at the same time, I just think that we need to remember that we are innocent until proven guilty, and you shouldn't be hoping for the worst just so you can. I don't know, man. I just really think that we need to focus on being better people in general.
There needs to be a renaissance when it comes to, I guess, civility, when it comes to just being humane to people. And maybe it's always been this way, but it's only maybe we're more aware of it now because of social media, because of the internet, because everybody has a soapbox, everybody has a platform that they can stand on,
and that should be a good thing.
It should be a good thing, but for somehow, somewhere along the line, the loudest people got the largest soapboxes, and they're drowning out everybody. They're drowning out all reason. They're drowning out anybody who might be like, I'm just gonna throw a little bit of doubt and skepticism in here because there is none. There has to be some with everything. You have to be skeptical about everything, even if it's just a little bit, because you're demonstrating a little critical thinking there. If you take everything at face value, well, then you don't deserve free will because you're not exercising it. You're just following along with whatever everybody else is telling you. You're just regurgitating.
That's another thing I notice people do, that people will take a screenshot of something somebody else wrote and put it on their own page. Nobody has an original thought anymore, and that's something that also bothers me.
These are probably the same people that complain about Hollywood. Like, all they do nowadays is remake shit. You know, it's the same movie over and over. There's no original ideas. There's no creativity anymore. It's
but the people that say that will say, "Oh, well, Taylor Swift says this about that, so I should take that." Who gives a shit?
Yeah. What do you say about that?
Right. Who gives a shit what Taylor Swift or Matthew McConaughey says about anything? Why don't you think about it for yourself? There's nothing wrong with referring to other people to get some clarity, but you are an intelligent person, I would think, with access to the internet, with more access to information than we've ever had in the history of our species. You can form your own thoughts. You can look at data for yourself. You can look at both sides even. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. In this country, you are allowed to do that. And there is no government arm that's preventing you from accessing certain pieces of the internet or searching for certain things. Google has a special search engine in China. And we were all like, we thought Google was like for access to all information. That we thought they were anti-censorship, and they are providing China a search engine that filters out anything critical against the government. It's like, why are you doing that? Why are you implicitly endorsing a communist regime selectively presenting their people? You can't even call it information at that point. It's all manufactured. Mm-hmm. And you got North Korea, who is agoraphobic as shit. You have no idea what's going on in there, and the people have no idea either. That's the freaking book I've been working on forever. It's like you have no choice but to believe what you're being told because you have no exposure to anything else. So of course you're going to look at the Kim dynasty as godlike, because that's
damn
what
shame, man. I'm so glad I don't live in a place like that.
Oh yeah. Oh, thank goodness. And it's great that we don't live in a theological society. I've been to Saudi Arabia. I've been stuck in downtown Riyadh with a group of other Americans while evening prayer was going off over the giant loudspeakers that are all over that city. And it's weird. I'm not going to say anything more. I'm not going to, because the prayers to some people, that's their shit. And it's totally fine. But to me, it was just pretty weird hearing a foreign language reverberating and echoing through this huge city. And there's the whole city shut down because they were praying. If they weren't inside doing something else, everything stopped.
Had to feel a little totalitarian, I would think.
A little bit, but that's their thing. That's the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and that's how they do things.
But what do you do if you're a young person who in that society who's been around that their whole life? What do you do if you're like, I kind of don't really agree with this? What do you do?
I have no idea what they do. And I think that's what happened with the Arab Spring a few years ago. That's what's happening in Iran a little bit right now. You don't hear too much about it right now, but I did hear about it a few years ago. There was like a kind of a little revolution among the people there because they're wanting the same thing. You know, they're wanting freedom of information. Basically, they want a renaissance for themselves too. A lot of these countries, I think there's a lot of people, and in North Korea, you don't want to say anything out loud because you don't know if what you're talking about or who you're talking it to is going to turn you in, and then you're going to freaking disappear. Nobody ever heard of you. You're going to be just like in the Men in Black, where there's no trace you ever existed. So a lot of these people in these places, they are afraid to speak their minds.
Fart in the wind.
And that's where it goes. You know, if they say anything, that's what they become. There's like, oh, they're gone. There they go. And that's why I think nothing really happens in places like that at the rate some people would like it to, because they're just afraid. And over here, we take that shit for granted, and people are lazy. What you were saying earlier about copy paste on other people's memes or thoughts or whatever, as people are just too lazy to formulate their own opinions.
Yeah, and it's a problem. We shouldn't have that mentality right now.
Not right now. Not in the year 2019. Not after all the thousands of years of evolution.
Not even counting the internet. Just look at our library system. I live in the Cincinnati area. The Cincinnati Library is one of the best libraries in the country. I mean, have you ever been there? It's nuts, dude. It's fucking crazy. They've got this area where you can go in and 3D print stuff. Anything you want. I think you have to bring your own material, but the material's cheap, and there are classes on how to make stuff. I mean, just the library. Have you ever met a rude librarian in your life? I haven't. Every library in this country is set up to make everything as easy as possible. It's amazing. I mean, you can go in there, find any piece of information. You need something notarized, the library. If they can't do it, they will point the way. It's crazy how amazing just our library system is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we have here that I guess people just don't recognize. And I think it just shows, these are people that haven't really stepped outside ever, and I mean that metaphorically, but it could be literal, like they've never left their town or they've never left their state. So go out a little bit. If you can't leave the country, if you can't leave your state, well, freaking, grab a book, read up on what's happening in the world. You don't even have to watch. If you watch the news, you're going to get an angle more likely than anything.
Or you can do like I do and don't give a shit about what's happening in the world. And
there's that.
But also don't have an opinion about it.
You can worry about yourself. I mean, there's that too. You can just, and I've gotten shit for that. Like, I'm just kind of worried about my wife and my son right now, and everything else can kind of just like fuck off, migrant crisis, immigration, all that shit. I'm trying to worry about my own right now. So don't get in my way of me worrying and taking care of my own, and we'll be cool. And like, I'm called callous for that. And I'm like, why? I'm trying to take care of my own family. What are you doing? Are you helping me? No, you're trying to do your own shit too, right? Well, then fuck off. Take care of your shit. I'm not going to get in your way. Don't get in mine.
My focus is always going to be on my son. And if I feel strongly about something, I'm not going to force my son into it. If he asks me why I feel strongly about this or that, I'll tell him.
Yeah.
And he can form his own opinion about it. And he can always talk to me, and I'll always have his back. But I see a lot of people dragging their young kids to protests, and I don't get it, man, because a lot of these kids don't understand what's going on, but they're being dragged to protests.
Yeah.
And if you want to protest something, have a ball, but you should not bring a kid to it who doesn't understand what's going on.
Yeah. If you cringe at the sight of kids holding billboards or placards that says God hates fags on it, if you hate that, then you should also hate kids at anti-Trump rallies or anything along those lines, which I remember seeing shortly after inauguration. I think I was in Idaho on a TDY, and there was this kid. There was like a 10-year-old kid who was at this demonstration, and he said, fuck Trump on TV. And it's like, dude, your balls ain't dropped yet. What are you talking about? Like, it's
why are you saying that?
Why are you saying these words? Can you tell me why? No, because you don't know anything. And you know what? Your parents or whoever fucking told you this shit to say, they don't know anything either.
Well, they might. Maybe they have. But I don't. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, if they
I don't
do,
have any love for Donald Trump. But if they, you need to let your kid form their own opinion. You can't just shove one side down their throat and hope that you're making this kid a better person.
yeah, and if you are going to feed them an opinion or something, can you be a bit more elegant than just fuck Donald Trump? Can't you just be like, well,
I like
his
your little Russian
messaging
accent there.
was that what came out? I'm sorry, I'm not good with voices. I don't know. You gotta be can't you be more intelligent? Can't you be a bit more elegant? And that's all really people say, like, oh, your messaging is excluding people. It's like, well, how? Because last time I checked, everybody still has the same rights today as they did yesterday. And the president of the United States of America, guess what? He only really gives a shit about citizens of the United States of America. He doesn't care about the Chinese or the Armenians or the Greeks or the Italians. Just like they don't give a shit about us. They have their own problem. That's why we have countries, dude. I don't know. How do we get on this?
I don't know. All I know is just it's better for everybody if you're just a decent person. Yelling and screaming obscenities is nobody's ever going to take you seriously.
No, I don't. Well, except for the people that already are on your side and believe the same shit as you. But you already have them anyway. You didn't have to say anything for them to be bought in on your outlook because they were already right there with you.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you got a story for us or what?
Yeah, I got a little one. I've been thinking about this for a little while.
Oh my God, it's story time.
It's story time.
It's time for a story. It's
time for a story.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. So I thought about this the other day before we got started, and it eluded me until just now. When I was in high school, this was when I lived at Vintage, that old house. So 10th, maybe 11th grade. It was in the morning. I was getting ready to go to school. And, I had that room in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I was upstairs in the kitchen. I was like getting my lunch ready or something. And I was by that staircase that descended down into the basement.
I pass by that house, or at least that street, all the time.
Did you?
And I've even been thinking about going up that street and sending you a picture of that old house, but I don't remember what number it was or even what it looked like on the outside.
455, and it probably does look different.
Jesus. Anyway.
So I'm in the kitchen. I'm at the top of the staircase, and when I had got out of my room and everything, I turned all the lights off, except for I think one. I think there was a light in the laundry room down there. So there's just this dim sort of this dim glow, a fluorescent light. But for the most part, you look downstairs and it's pretty dark. There's like a haze, you know how when you turn the lights off at night, it's not completely dark. There's like this dark gray, kind of bluish. I don't know.
Sure, I know what you're saying.
Well,
kind of like moonlight.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. There's this sort of that's a good way of putting it. There's like this sort of moonlight kind of thing going on, and for whatever reason, I looked down the stairs and I saw a figure. I see a completely just black in and out, this silhouette sort of standing half 2/3 out from around the corner, in plain view down the staircase, down the staircase. And I mentioned the glow coming from the laundry room because I could distinctly see an outline of what looked like a man, this sort of flat black silhouette down there at the foot of these stairs. And around him, it was dark. There was that light haze coming from that light, but there was just this a man-shaped void, and it was just down there. And I remember looking at it, and I was sort of, and I is enthralled the right word? I'm sort of lost in it. Like I was staring at the stars, but there were no stars. It was just this black shape. I remember looking at it and just feeling this weird sort of sensation. And it took a lot of me to turn away and just go about my business, finish what I was doing, leave the house, get on the bus, go to school. But that stuck with me for a while. And apparently that is a phenomenon referred to as shadow people or shades. Now, I guess the contemporary or the modern Shadow Man is not really that old. I think this article I was reading, it was popularized by the Coast to Coast radio show, but ghosts and shades and everything goes back, hundreds, if not thousands of years. Now, I haven't really had many encounters like that. I saw this weird shadow man, this shadow figure, or whatever, at the foot of the stairs the one time, never saw it again. And then when you and I had the apartment together, for whatever reason, I went on that walk and I went through Potter's Park and I heard a little boy crying for help like 3 or 4 times. And it was like 10:30 at night. And I actually looked up that area on maps the other night because I think when I was thinking about how we're going to do story time, I thought about the Shadow Man. I was like, oh shit. The only other time I ever had a weird kind of encounter like that was when I went on that walk. And I think I took you and Megan out a night or two later to that area.
I thought that was a golf course or something.
It was Potter's Park. Yeah, it was a golf course.
Right.
I just remember I followed on the map, that I walked up the street from Carriage Hill and I cut a right down a neighborhood and I crossed the street and I sort of just went deep into the golf course towards, I guess, a creek. And I don't know, it was cold and I was standing there and I heard this faint cry for help. And I was frozen. Like my feet were just melded to the ground. Like I couldn't escape. And if you can squint your ears, that's what I tried to do. I was just like, what the fuck? Where's this coming from? Am I actually hearing this? And I heard it a few times and I was so unnerved and spooked by it. I was like, all right, I'm just going to get the hell out of here. And I think that is the only other time I've ever really experienced something like that. Never seen a UFO. Never actually seen any other spirits or seen anything move. I always chalked up like creaking in houses or whatever to the house settling or just a house being a house, But the Shadow Man, that was weird. But I was legitimately scared.
Let me ask you this. What do you think it was? Do you think it was supernatural or do you think it was something else?
Which one? Both of them?
Shadow. Well, were they connected even?
Well, they were years apart.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Well, I mean, the thing with the Shadow Man was that it was. So reading up on this, a lot of people attribute it to sleep paralysis. Like they sort of wake up, but they're not really awake, and they are still kind of dreaming, but they're also awake, so they're hallucinating or something. But I was not. I had been awake for like an hour or so. I was getting ready for school. I had showered. I was dressed, everything. I looked down the stairs and I saw this thing, and I was like, "What am I looking at?" And I felt, I guess, coherent is the word I'm looking for. I felt there, I felt all together. I wasn't half asleep or anything. So I felt like I had all my senses and I thought I was genuinely looking at something. And I guess if you're going to put me on the spot, I think I did see something. I don't know what it was. I don't know why. I don't know what was about that house I guess it's not attached to me or anything. Otherwise I probably would have seen it more than once, but I don't know. I want to, in my head, be like, yeah, things like that exist. And then when I'm like put on the spot, I'm like, I don't know if I want to say out loud that I actually do kind of believe in these things. But I guess at the end of the day, because I do believe in God. So I guess I endorse that there are things out there beyond our comprehension. But then I want to go down like the more scientific route. Like our perception of reality is literally just that. It's just our perception. And there could be a whole lot more going on that we just cannot, we don't have the hardware to decipher it. I think it was Aristotle that defined reality as someone like chained in a cave and they're facing a wall in the cave, and all they see their entire existence are shadows being projected from the light behind them. So their entire existence, their reality is those shadows, that what's in front of them. But for real, what's going on behind them that's that's everything else, you know? So are we just looking at shadows projected on a wall and the real shit is happening like underneath?
That's a really
Uh,
interesting way to look at it. I like
right.
that.
I don't know. I don't know if it was Aristotle. It was one of those old, way back in the day philosophers, and they said it a lot more eloquently than I did. But it does. I don't know, stuff like that. It makes you wonder, and I think like H.P. Lovecraft, you know, authors like that, they tap into that. Like, yeah, there's these cosmic entities. There's these things out there that they're everywhere and they're always there, but you know, there were people, and we just are not designed to comprehend that. So like Cthulhu, I guess, has a shape that no human can comprehend.
Then why do we assign an octopus to him
I don't
or
know.
a giant squid?
Maybe that's the closest thing that a person can relate to it, you know. But I think what happens more often than not is that the person is driven insane just in, you know, their efforts of trying to comprehend what it is that they're seeing, and they break because they can't. You physically cannot define what you're seeing because it's just so outside your level of comprehension. You know what? Do I have time for one more?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I did have a question though.
Go ahead.
Do we as a species assign these supernatural let's just say entities? Do we think about this stuff because we actually want it to be true? Do we think about it because figuring that there's more stuff out there than we can comprehend is somehow comforting to us?
Um,
If there's stuff that we can never actually explain, maybe we don't have to explain it all, you know? Maybe
Yeah.
that takes some of the pressure off of us.
that's a good way of putting it. I think that is why people put so much stock in faith, is because if you can prove everything, what's the point of having faith? So
Sure.
if you're at the edge of a cliff and you cannot see what's below you and you're being asked to jump, you know, do you? You know, and so if you know for a fact, yeah, I'm going to jump because there's no risk. Well, it's almost like, well, what's the point then? You know, like, why are there obstacles at all if you know how it's going to turn out? So I think people will believe in God because they want to have faith in something, you know, and like everything's going to work out. You know, if I'm a good person, then I'm going to live forever and I'm not going to suffer and all these other things. Like, this is just a really brief experiment. In the end, though, if I'm a good person, if I do everything right, if I keep faith, then it's all going to work out for me in the end and all this other stuff. But you can boil it down to having faith in people or having just faith in yourself. Like if I stick to it, if I do X, Y, Z or whatever, then, you know, this is going to work out. Things are going to turn out good for me, etc. Because if you know for a fact it's going to work out, then why are you going to put the effort in anyway?
Sure.
And then that leads into like a paradoxical kind of argument, because I always think about this too. Like, man, I wish I could just jump in the future, like a brief second, like a week or two, just to observe something that's outside of my control. Because if I were to go in the future and be like, oh yeah, like, do I buy this car or do I do this or do I do that, and go in the future and I find out, oh yeah, I totally do that. But then I come back, maybe with the knowledge that I do perform whatever action, maybe that actually gets in my own way and I never perform that action now. It would be like, oh God, what, shit, I couldn't remember. Like, I would want to jump ahead and be like, who wins the next presidential election? Because I have no say in that. You know, that's bigger than me. One vote ain't going to swing one way or the other. But what if I like told people like, oh yeah, he's going to win this, and people are like, oh well, if he's just going to win anywhere, if she's going to win, well then why am I going to bother voting? Or, well, I was going to vote for this person, but if they're going to win anyway, I'm going to vote this other person, and that actually might change the outcome. So if people know what's going to happen anyway, it's almost like, you know, why bother with it, you know? And,
Sure.
and that can be a defeatist attitude too. And a lot of people can get sucked into that if they're depressed, because they can just be like, well, what does it matter? I'm not going to make a difference. I'm not going to, you know, I'm just one person. What am I do? What am I going to do? What can I do? And then they never do anything with themselves. So it could be, I don't know, I think faith could be good. I think believing in stuff like that's outside of your control, I think it's good. I think it can be a positive. But then there's other people that take it like really far, where they're thinking they're under constant scrutiny and constant judgment. And I don't think that's how it goes. I saw some on Facebook the other day, and they were like, "How can you look at human suffering and believe there's a God?" And it's like, well, do you have children? Are you constantly making their decisions for them? Are you telling them what to do? Are you making them do what you want them to do? You know, we're all are your parents doing that to you? Have you ever done something fucking stupid? Have you ever done something or said something and your parent was like, Jesus, what? That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen anybody do or heard anybody say. Are you your own person? You make your own choices and everything? Well, that's how I look at, the concept of God. Like, yeah, I've been created, but just like my parents created me, I'm left to my own devices and I'm left to figure this out kind of on my own. A lot of people think that there is no free will. I guess everything's all fatalist or whatever. Like you're fated to do X, Y, Z. I don't necessarily believe in that.
Well, from what I can tell, your worldview makes prayer actually not pointless.
Yeah, and
because the way it seems like a lot of religious people view things is, God has a set plan for everything, and if that's true, why would you pray? Because it's going to happen how this deity wants it to happen, no matter what. Why pray?
Right.
Is part of God's plan you praying for this one thing that he already knows you're going to get or not going to get?
Yeah, right.
It just doesn't, that doesn't, and I know you and I'll never completely agree on religion, but you've put a lot of thought into it, and I respect you for that.
Yeah, just because it goes back to what you were saying earlier. I don't want to put everything into somebody else's dogma. I don't want to follow blindly. And I don't know. Which is kind of funny, I guess, because I joined the military. I'm supposed to follow orders and not really question them. But even then, in this environment, I joined a branch where you're kind of permitted to ask if you have tact. Like in the Marines, you will respect your superiors and you will follow their orders almost blindly. But over the years, there have been little things slid in there like, well, there are such things as unlawful orders. So if you're ordered to do something and it's wrong and it's wrong, you can disobey that order and report that person for ordering you to do something that's against law or illegal. And ideally, it's supposed to work out in the end.
I feel like that is a very, very gray area.
It is. It can be, and it happens a lot. I think in the 9th grade we did a thing in government class on the atom bombs, and I played the role. I think one of the pilots of the bombers that dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and all I could really do was I was following orders. I was doing what I was told. I was told not to think about it or be emotionally invested. I was told, like, you're a pilot, you will fly this plane. It's not up to you on what we drop or where we drop it. You're just going to fly it there. And that was really my only defense. And man, I'm kind of wiggling over here, like actually thinking of having to be sort of,
you almost got to be kind of callous about it.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I'm trying to think of like being in that scenario, and I am a military officer, so I could be ordering people to doing these things to do something like this. And it's like, can you live with that? And what's your defense? What's their defense? Oh, I was just doing what he told me to do. Is that a good defense? Like, doesn't there come a point where you have to sort of question the morality or the ethics or whatever? And I guess at the end of the day, when it comes to that little project, I was like, man, I just fly planes. I fly planes, and I trust my leaders to make the decisions that they make. That's what they get paid to do. That's what they're supposed to do. I just fly the plane.
They earn their position. I didn't earn the position, and I didn't earn the right to challenge them.
Yeah, right.
You remember 24?
Yes.
Well, every single, I mean, you got to suspend a little bit of disbelief when it comes to that show. But one thing I think they really nailed was the idea that the leaders of whatever country are facing a fucking catastrophe. And there's a lot of decisions being made right then and there. And they don't tell us everything
Nah.
because they can't. If they did, it would just be chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, obviously I don't know anything about the way things are run in Washington, but I feel like it's kind of a lot like that. Like there's a lot of decisions being made that we'll never even know about because why the hell should we?
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of happens. That happens almost in any organization. You might have something come down like, oh shit, we gotta act on this. We gotta make this decision. And maybe you can solve it at your level. Or maybe you just need to invoke your subordinates and then y'all can figure it out. But do you need to get everybody in your organization involved? You need to bring everybody into the huddle and get their inputs when just a couple people can be like, brainstorm real fast. Okay, we'll do it this way. Pros, cons, whatever. Okay, we're going to do that. And then it's over. And if you did involve anybody, you just contributed to, like you said, chaos, just mass upheaval. And in the end, it could be over nothing.
Because on one hand, if a terrorist had acquired the nuclear football and was releasing Syntox nerve gas all over the country, I feel like I should know. But on the other hand, why should this guy who, is a blue collar and does a little podcast every now and then, why the hell should he know what's going on? Fuck that guy.
Yeah, that guy doesn't know shit.
Yeah.
And if he does know, what's he going to do with that information? Maybe make things worse?
Exactly.
Yeah. My wife is asking when she can take a bath.
Oh, okay. Well,
I told her 5 minutes ago.
We are actually at an hour and 20 minutes. I'm proud of us.
Yeah, that was really good.
And
went off the rails. I wouldn't say we went off the rails, but for being a game movie sort of, are we a game movie kind of podcast?
I want to say yes, but we're dads now and we fall asleep when we watch something, so we'll just get to that stuff when we can.
Yeah. And I guess in the end, the whole point of this is we're just two guys talking. But
I want to say the next one, I got a really cool story for the next one, and I actually want to say that we'll have our first guest on next time too.
Sweet.
All right. Well, if anybody actually listens to this, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for listening or watching if you put this on YouTube.
And I love you all, I guess.
I love you, one person who.
I love you, 3,000.
Oh.
Aw. Tony Stark's dead.
Oh, spoilers.
Bye.